Ahmed Sahid Nasralla was elected president of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists in 2019. In June, he will be seeking re-election for his second and final four-year term in office. In this interview, we spoke about the state of the media since he assumed office, his campaign promises, a major media investment conference this week, as well as his plans ahead. Nasrallah, thank you and welcome to the interview.
Thank you very much for having me for this interview.
Yeah. So I just spoke about the fact that you were elected in 2019 and you had your campaign promises, and there were a lot of expectations among Sierra Leonean journalists as well. I would like to know from your viewpoint how much of your manifesto promises you think you have achieved.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of my manifesto, I think I have succeeded in achieving more than 80%, because in my manifesto, what I actually did was before I put out that manifesto, when I declared my intention to become the president of SLAJ in 2018, in the run-up to the 2019 elections, I went around the country and spoke to journalists, my colleagues, and asked them what were their concerns, what kind of leadership are they looking for, what kind of issues they want to prioritize. And so from the feedback I got from them, we went back with my small team and then we put together the manifesto, the SALT manifesto. And in that manifesto, there are 4 or 5 key issues that I said I will address. The first one was basically gender, because you know that the Sierra Leone media is male-dominated. If you look at the figures now, in terms of female-male ratio, you can see that out of over 718 active members of SLAJ, we only have about 170 women. So in terms of numbers,
huge gap.
the gap is huge. Yeah. But we don't only want to look at numbers. We know gender inequality is not just peculiar to the media. It cuts across all sectors in Sierra Leone. But we want, as SLAJ, we want to make, my leadership, I wanted to make some genuine efforts to see how we can address that one. And so we said we don't want to look at the numbers only, because we also want to look at the quality, because if you look at the electronics media, the signs are encouraging, because we are seeing women station managers, and now we are beginning to hear about women owning media houses, and some are planning to set up their own media houses. And but for the print media, the story is appalling. You can only point to 1 or 2 female journalists who are editors, and so we want to see how we can change that to encourage more women to come into the profession. So we also want to look at the capacity building, because that is the first area we want to, because when there's a space for women to occupy, they have to have the capability to be able to occupy those positions. So that's another aspect. And so what I did as president and with my executive was to ensure that every decision we want to take with regards to SLAJ, and we make sure we have it with a gender lens. We look at it from a gender lens, and we ensure that if we are appointing people to positions for committees and those other important positions, we first consider women who are qualified for the position. If we don't have any qualified women, then we go to look at our male colleagues. So that's one. And if you look at the executive now, we have 3 women in the executive. We have the PRO is a woman, the financial secretary is a woman, and then the vice chairperson is also a woman. And we have 1 woman as chairperson in the north, in the eastern region for SLAJ. And then when we appointed the SLAJ Electoral Commission chairperson, she's a woman. The person is now a woman. And then we appointed the SLAJ Disciplinary Committee, which has now been reconstituted to now include members of the public. And so we look around and got one of our experienced female colleagues, and we appointed her to the position as chairperson of the SLAJ Disciplinary Committee. And then recently we announced the SLAJ Gender Advisory Panel, also comprising of SLAJ members and people from outside, and also ensure that the head of that committee is also a woman and somebody who has done a lot of research in relation to women in the media, and even the PhD she now got, her thesis was basically on women in the media, and so she comes with a wealth of experience to ensure that they advise SLAJ on gender issues and help us to conduct periodic gender audits so that they can inform our decisions going forward. So that's what we've done with relation to gender. And the other manifesto promise was the repeal of the criminal libel law. You know, when they formed SLAJ in 1971, that has been the mandate of every executive. Every executive that has come since 1971, their priority was to see the repeal of the criminal libel law. And we've had presidents who have engaged, who have taken several strategies to see how they can get the law repealed. We've got Umaro Fofana went to court, Dr. Spencer went to court, and Kelby started diplomacy engagement with the government, with the last government. And then finally, when I came in, I took it from where they left. And then we were lucky that it was part of the manifesto of the government that won the elections for the Republic. And so we only have to remind them about their promise and told them that this is how far we've gone with the last government in terms of developing a policy document that will guide the repeal. And so we made a case, a position paper, and finally the law was repealed. So that's a big achievement, but I didn't take it as my own achievement. It's a collective achievement because in SLAJ, the executive are like, we are running a relay. And some people start the first and then they give you the second, and then we all take our turns. So after me, there will be another person again. But I'm happy that under my leadership, I was able to achieve that huge milestone in terms of getting the repeal of the criminal libel law. And so now that we have got the repeal, the focus now is to see how we can promote professionalism in the media. But that was a huge concern for the members of parliament, huge concern for the public as well.
You said you've attained 80%.
More than 80%.
More than 80%. You know, I want to know if you imagine you could have gone this far at this time?
Well, the issue with my presidency is that everything seems to be falling in place for me, exactly. I have the ideas, I have the plans, and then you look at the IMC Act again. When they repeal the criminal libel law, we have the issue of, which is another issue in my manifesto, the welfare issue, welfare conditions for journalists. That was a very thorny issue, and so I made it one of my manifesto promise. And then when we had the repeal of the criminal libel law, we also had the repeal of the IMC Act 2000, which gave us the IMC Act 2020. And now that act by law obligates every media house or every media employer to ensure that they pay their reporters above the minimum wage and also pay their NASIT contributions, the social security contributions, and also the NRE. So that was a big success for us, and that is something I did not envisage, because I was going to go the other way, to go to labor using the SLRU, so that we can get a bargaining certificate with the labor union, with the Southern Labour Congress, and then see how we can get a media owners association as a platform to engage the media owners to see how they can improve the conditions of service of their employers. But then we had that now with the law, and that was a huge success for me also. That just fell into place. Yes, I wanted to. I didn't think I would have achieved as much as this one, but I also was very convinced that I was going to make a change. I was going to make a difference, because I know what I want to achieve. I know my vision was clear for SLAJ, and it's basically the vision of every journalist, because we got that from the journalist themselves.
You mentioned the issue of welfare. It is very key.
Very key, yeah.
You said something to the effect that you wanted to organize something like a media owners association, which you think could be a very good platform, to resolve those problems. You know, I tend to think, and I know a lot of people I've spoken to who would think that we still need something like that, because even though these laws, like you are saying, have been passed by the IMC and all, we still have some of these problems. Just recently, you were quoted saying, urging the IMC, the new IMC board, to make sure that media owners, you know, respect that aspect of it. That suggests that, you know, still now we have those problems.
Yes.
So,
there's still the issue of compliance. You know, with the media, we tend to believe that we have so much freedom, and sometimes we take advantage of the freedom that we have. And so, yes, the law is there, but we've seen for the previous IMC, we see that they've even for the renewal of license, these are conditions you have to meet before your license is renewed annually. And the new IMC came. Okay, but this is the new IMC now. Yes, but by the act, at the last one, there was an IMC, and so they were supposed to start the implementation of the new act, the 2020 act. And so we saw that some media houses put together documents which do not reflect their business, and so we urge the IMC to ensure that they don't just look at documents; they go and cross-check and ensure that these monies are paid. Are actually paid to the reporters and other media workers. So yes, there is still the issue of compliance, and that is why we want the IMC to be very vigilant, because this is a very key issue, a very, very thorny issue for the journalists, and reporters have to be, the money is still small. The money they're paying, even for editors, is very small. So We expect that with the law, media owners will have. Yet there is still need for also the Media Owners Association. That doesn't mean we are not going to pursue that. We're going to pursue that because there's also the investment aspect of the media, which we can only enhance through having a platform like that where the media owners will come and discuss the challenges that they have and the opportunities that they have, the risk that they see at the business, and put together something that will be able to convince people who want to put their money, who want to invest in the media.
You rightly alluded to the fact that the money they pay journalists is small, but that is actually not just the problem. The problem is even that small amount for many. I dare even say for most journalists, that small amount, even to pay them that, is a problem. Even though you said you are still working on the issue of the media owners, but have you engaged individually with media owners about this, and what are they saying?
Yes, yes, I've engaged when I started working on the idea to get them together. Yes, I started with the big guys because they, like AYV, I have a good relationship with the proprietor and the CEO, Mr. Nabu. I also spoke with Philip Neville at Star, and also Kelvin for the print media. Yes, it's something that they welcome, but we wanted to get some other media partners to also help, like the MR, the Media Reform Coordinating Group, and also the IMC, so that we can put this together. Yes, but it's something that we are working on. Definitely, yes, we still get to work. Yes, you mentioned something about the media that the members of SLAJ are the people who own the media. Yes, the Sierra Leone media is unique in that sense because most of the owners of the media are members of SLAJ. They are the editors as well, and so you see sometimes. They've been reporters. They rose from reporters, from the rank of reporters, to become editors and media owners. So they know the problem, but there is not the genuine commitment to ensure that they resolve these issues. So I think beyond the repeal, that is something we need to look at. We need to have frank discussions about the industry, talk to ourselves, and be honest and sincere about what we do and the way we do, and be transparent and accountable as media people, because that's where we start. Because if we want to hold other people accountable, like public officials, then we first have to be accountable and transparent in how we do things.
Amending the Media Act, the IMC Act, was much needed, but then it also some aspects of it generated concern among media owners. Tax issues, NASIT. You, I'm sure, are aware of some of these issues. Where do you stand in the first place?
Yes, well, interestingly, when the issue of the act came in, when we started discussing the act, when it was passed, actually, when we started discussing the issue of contributions, NASIT contribution, we found out that a lot of media houses are owing NASIT contributions way back about 10 years or 15 years. And so when you do those calculations, a huge sum of money. And so we never knew. Ignorantly, we went to the MD of NASIT, trying to engage him so that they can waive off all of those contributions. But then the reporters got wind of that and said, "Why? Those are our monies. Those are monies that we worked for. Yes, definitely, you cannot just waive them. Yes, we should have to. Definitely, they have to pay. So you see, yes, we are going to ask them to waive them, so that we give the media houses a new slate so that they can start all over again and reboot their businesses. But then definitely, if you waive that off, then it's the monies of the reporters that are not being paid for those years.
It's true.
And so they enlighten us, and then we now resort to the idea of making payment plans for the media houses. So if you've owed for 15 years, you can make a payment plan for 5 years. And pay by installment, but definitely you have to pay.
What we just discussed is all around this context of the media poverty that we are dealing with, which is affecting professionalism. And I am sure this is partly what inspired your idea about the investment conference. And we are about to host it. And but I understand some people in the media don't think that what is coming is what you had in mind. Certainly not what they have in mind.
Let's put it into context. Now, the Media Investment Conference, from the government perspective, was a manifesto promised by the government.
Really?
It was a promise by when the government, okay, not a manifesto promise actually, but it's a promise by the President, His Excellency Brigadier Julius Madabio. When he was signing the repeal document, he made that pronouncement. He said his government will try to organize an investment conference for the media so that we can see how we can begin to talk about bailing the media out of poverty. So that was a promise. So that's what they are pursuing. From the SLAJ perspective, what I was thinking about as SLAJ President, my vision for investment in SLAJ. I've done one. One is in the, I'll talk about that later, in the Journalism Welfare Fund. But the one I was talking about is that we can, there is NASIT. NASIT is the social contribution, and they are investing in so many businesses. And so, and we have a relationship with them. And some of the media cocktails that we have attended, part of my statement was appealing to them to see how they can partner with SLAJ so that we can establish a business venture. We are in SLAJ, we'll engage in the business. SLAJ as the umbrella body for the media, engage in some business venture where we can be importers of the raw materials that we use. For example, for the print media, we will be in charge of importing the newsprints, the films, the inks, and those other raw materials. And so that we will control the supply and also sell back to our constituency on a cost recovery basis. So that we'll control the price and also control the supply, even in the period of crisis like the COVID. Yeah. So that was my idea. We can also get some money. We invest in some, buy some shares in some company, so that there will be somewhere we will be getting money, so that we don't always depend on donors. So that was my idea of investment for the media, because SLAJ is the umbrella body. But then this investment conference we are going to hold now with the government, in partnership with the government and the BBC Media, which they have now put under their prime project, basically focusing on the viability of media houses and towards a more independent and effective media for public interest journalism. Yeah. And so that's the issue. So this one now, what we're trying to do, you remember that the argument that we put forward for the repeal was that the repeal was preventing private sector investment to the media, because it was a bad law. People don't want to come and put their money in a sector that where you make a slight mistake, you are called a criminal, and then you have you are liable to go to Panama Road and these sort of things. And so that was a key argument. And so now that we have the repeal, so now we need a way to position the media now to attract that investment. But the perception out there to media owners, we have over 200 media houses registered. Newspapers, radio stations, over 300 to 400, you can imagine, in a very small market like this. And so there have been talks about urging the media houses to merge, pull their resources together so that they form as companies. But if you look at the way they registered at IMC, they're all companies. Most of the 90% of them are companies. There are only about 14 that are registered as sole proprietorship, in the real sense of the word, registered as sole proprietorship. But you can, interestingly, those who registered as company, they are also sole proprietorship. See, that's the trick. They're registered as companies, but they operate as sole proprietorship because there is one man in charge. One man in charge. They are not accountable. They are accountable only to themselves. And so there is little potential for growth and expansion. So we cannot continue like that. If we continue like that, then the media will always remain poor. It's always a one-man business, and then it's only for you and your interest and your family and your friends and those sort of things. Yes. And so we want to go beyond that. So that's why the responsibility is with us, the media people. The government is already providing the platform. So this media viability conference is basically to bring ideas together, look at what has worked in other countries in terms of media market, and look at our own situation. Because what we did together as a team with the government, with the IMC, with the Ministry of Information and Communications, BBC Media, IMC, and all SLAJ and its constituent bodies, we are involved in the process across the country. We look at the situation analysis of the media in Freetown, as SLAJ as an association, and then look at the print media, look at the electronics, and then we look at the variations in the regions, how the media is operating in the regions, in the north, south, and east. And so we put all these things together, the challenges, the opportunities, the risks, and those sort of things. Put them together, and then they will form part of the conference, the papers for the conference, and then people will look at them and discuss and see what is happening maybe in Kenya or in Ghana or even in Liberia. And also look at advertising, because one of the key issues that came up during the discussions was the issue of advertising. It's very chaotic and very corrupt in Sierra Leone. There is no clear code, there is no ethical way of doing it here, because the advertisers don't advertise based on quality or based on reach or based on certain conditions that they will look for, that in a normal society you will look for before you put your money into any media to advertise. They don't look at those. They have other considerations, and there are middlemen and middle people along the way who, by the time the money comes to you, it's pittance. And sometimes the payment also Here people don't pay advance, or they don't pay a percentage before they place the adverts. They give you the adverts, and then it takes ages before they pay. For companies and even for government is the biggest debtor.
Yeah.
Advertising debtor. So some colleagues were saying that government should first start of going back 10, 15 years and paying all those backlogs to the media.
Government owe people that far.
Yes, they owe people that far. Not this government, the previous government.
Yeah.
Yes, because they always claim that the ministries always call the MDs always claim that they don't have allocation from the Minister of Finance, so they cannot pay. But they put out the advert in the first place. You see, and so those are the things we want to look at, because advertising is the lifeblood for the media here.
I want to say this. This is good idea, listening
Yes.
from you saying this, because we need to know first what are our problems, so
Exactly.
we know
Yes, we
how
need
to
to
fix
yes.
them. There is this group of journalists who think that this is actually a point where journalists have the opportunity to come and pitch their ideas and hear investors' response. Is that...
No, that's not it. Yeah. To be honest, no investor will come will invest in the media in Sierra Leone. You know that. No investor will come now to say, I want to invest in political, for example, or in satellite, for example, because what will be the profit? It's a very small industry. You know what I mean? So this is not the type of
So that's why the conference can
Yes.
allow them to hear from the owners of political satellite, how viable the project can be.
Yes, at the conference, we'll also look at cases that have been successful. We can look at media houses that are doing reasonably well, and they will look at case studies. For example, we have AOCO, the publisher of AOCO will be there to talk about how AOCO has made it up to this point and stable, and they obey all the laws, they pay their staff well, and they pay their national contributions, and the business is thriving in a way. We have to look at those models. But then, this is not the kind of conference we're talking about, where you meet face to face with investors. This is just the starting.
Okay, you have that in mind for the future.
When we have prepared all, we have put all the structures together, put our business case together, then we approach the investors. You don't go and approach the investors with your problems, or the risk, you have to give them the viability options. And what are the options? If I put my money here, how much will I get? How much profit will I get? What will I gain as a businessman? That's the first consideration that they do. So what we are going to do at this conference is to ensure that we look at what works for Salone, we look at other areas and try to adapt it to Sierra Leone, and then that will be the roadmap to where we want to go in terms of investment.
So I also have to bring this up. Some of these people who have concern about this present arrangement is that this is likely going to be another talk shop. I mean, governments, these are politicians. They are good at talking. They are good at promises. They can say, we just want to do this, to say, yeah, we have promised and we have fulfilled.
Yes.
Are you thinking about that?
Yes, we understand that. We understand this. We are media people, so we understand this. We listen to our people. We know what they are saying. Like, for a couple of days ago, I saw the discussion in our Guild of Editors Forum, the consultants by members. Yes. But the discussions have been very inclusive. Every sector, we give them the opportunity to go back and discuss their issues, put them together. What are their challenges? What is the situation with the media, with the print media, for example? And we give them as the permission.
Journalists, you mean?
Yes,
media owners?
Yes, not media owners, but the umbrella bodies.
Okay, the umbrella bodies.
Like for the print media, we look at the Guild of Editors.
I see.
Yeah, they were there and they have representatives. They went back and put together a document and submit it to the SLAJ also did the same, and then we leave our regional bodies to also do the same, because we want to see the regional variations. And so also for women in the media, and also SLRU. And we have SLBC there as the public broadcaster as well. So every sector. It's a session to bang heads, and we look at international perspectives and put them together, and then we develop a policy from the conference, and that will be our guide. If the government doesn't want to further, now we have a document that will guide us, and we have something that we have in place that will guide us. Say, this is the way we want to go, and this is the way we want to go, and then we'll come back together as media stakeholders and sit down and try to see how we can build on that. Yes, but the conference will not solve the problem overnight. That would be too much to promise. Yes.
The conference will not solve the problem overnight.
Definitely.
That's key.
Yeah.
So you cited something that is of interest to me and many journalists. I mean, journalist welfare. You had an idea of creating a fund like that. Can you just say how you intend to?
Well, what the idea behind that fund was that we've seen that the media in Sierra Leone is now divided into three parts. You have the pro-government media, you have the media supporting the opposition parties, and then you have the small in the middle, You have a small in the middle that aspire to be independent and to do public interest media. We saw that that space is really shrinking, and the two other sectors are almost covering that one, and so we want to ensure that we protect that space and see how we can expand it. So that's the rationale behind the SLAJ Golden Jubilee Journalism Welfare Fund, to basically support independent journalism. So this is a fund, and also to help journalists in times of crisis. So for the independent journalism, I remember when I just left AYV as a managing editor. Kevin was president. Kevin Lees was president of SLAJ, and there was Ebola, and there are regions in the country that we are recording 0 cases, more than 21 days. And so Kevin wanted to see how journalists could go to those areas and learn from the people what kind of strategies they put in place to arrive at that to get those 0 cases, so that other regions who we are recording more cases will learn from them and also adapt those policies or those strategies. And so, but he needed some independent people to go there. And so he called me as a senior editor to lead a small team of journalists he picked from the electronic media and also the print media, to go with them on the ground. And they report live from the ground, and also I do the editorial and guide them and those sort of things. So SLAJ was able to fund that. But that was not funded by SLAJ, it was funded by his own pocket, because SLAJ didn't have the money. So those are the kind of independent journalism that we want to do. We want to go to the mining sector. We want to go and investigate what is happening in the mining sector. Take one mining sector, go there. SLAJ should have funds for this, that they will just put together, or they will have a policy that media houses could apply, journalists of like-minded minds will apply for the fund. Then we give them the fund, they go and do the investigation, they come with the stories, they will syndicate the stories locally and internationally. So that's the idea of the independent journalism, so that to get people to aspire to become independent journalists, not just those who are supporting political parties, that's writing about political stories. So that's the one idea for the independent journalism fund. Then the other one is to ensure that there is a fund that will also help journalists in emergency situations. You know, Sierra Leone is very prone to crisis, environmental crisis. The Ebola, we have the mudslide, and the fire incident in Wellington. And journalists are the first people who will go there to try to report, and they're likely to get injured and be victims. And so there should be some fund that SLAJ will be able to help these people to get back to normal, get back their lives. So that's the essence of the fund.
Yeah, I like that, especially the aspect of the independent journalism, because we really need that.
We need that.
And also the other aspect, also welfare. I'm just surprised why I didn't hear you say something that I thought should feature in it. I mean, we know the media here has been in this poverty for a very long time. I can remember a number of journalists who have died here, basically poor.
And the welfare issue is also, if you follow what we've done this in the last week, we had some engagement with the Irish Credit Union, Irish League Credit Union, ILCOF. So look at the possibility of establishing a credit union for journalists. Okay. So journalists will access small loans, journalists will save, because the culture of saving is absent from, is lacking in all of us. We know we don't have enough, we don't get enough income, but you don't have to be rich to save. You can save with your little income that you have, you can save, you can have a saving plan, and then you can also have access to loans and to manage your life, to pay for your children's school fees, to take care of certain social issues, so that you don't have too much burden. So definitely what we've done, we've engaged the foundation, and we've also invited them to the triennial conference coming up in June. So they will they will make a presentation to the whole house, and then we will convince the house to adopt that, so that SLAJ will go into this. And I think it will work if that one works, if the journalists are embrace that one, that will be also another way to help for the welfare solution. But for the journalism welfare fund, we don't want to include anything about welfare there. That is basically to support, because that's how we're going to attract funding if we're going to attract funding. Because maybe no international body will come to support welfare issues of journalists.
Maybe you need to revisit the name, because the name is what raises expectations in journalists.
Exactly. I know. Yes. Some people have also told me that. Yes. We'll see what we can do.
We spoke about the amendment of the IMC Act, the codes of practice and all that. There is one thing that has been left out, very important, the new media. I find it very, funny, I should say, that we did all that amendment at a time we were even discussing about some of these issues. Social media, for example, its influence on the mainstream media. Yet we failed to capture this. Have you thought about this?
Yes. That was a big mistake. That was a big oversight from all of us. We accepted, because everything happened so fast, and we are so engrossed with the repeal they will forget about the IMC. The IMC Act was going to be also repealed. So that's why they didn't capture the digital. But it's very very serious. Like you said, it's a huge platform, and we don't know who has the traditional media. So far, we have not found a way of how to take advantage of that platform. We are just using it basically just to popularize most of the things we do, but we have not thought about how can we use this platform to generate revenue, to also get a revenue stream from this kind of platform. So that's a big issue, and so far it has also been a very challenging issue for the traditional media, because most of the news now you see, they are first, you see them quickly in the electronic media before they arrive on the traditional media. And most times you don't see them, you don't see exactly what you see in the social media. So people don't have interest anymore, except for radio. So you look at newspapers, they are actually dying slowly. Yes, and so I think that is something we will also capture in this conference.
One of the effects of that, the fact that you forgot about this because of all the things that preoccupied you, which is very genuine, beside the impact on the print media, which is virtually useless, to be blunt. There is also issue of regulation.
This is something that the MC also have talked about, and it's something that very soon we'll begin our advocacy around that, so that we can get some amendments to the IMC Act. You just operate within the laws, within the laws that guide the traditional media, because they all apply also to the digital media. And it's also a challenge because when you see also the amount of broadcast that is taking place online from Sierra Leone diaspora, online TV, online radio. They just broadcast, and there's no regulation. They just pump the information out to the public. That is a very big that is a big concern for the IMC, and I think we are working together to see how we can go back to Parliament and raise those issues so that the parliamentarians will see reason and amend some sections of that and capture.
Finally, we have seen a lot of moves by the government that kind of assure us about their commitment towards having a free press. But some problems that we've been having, even before the repeal of the criminal libel, we still have them. I mean, intimidation, arrest of journalists, we still have them. At what level are you discussing this with government, and how hopeful are you that very soon we'll see an end to this?
When we signed the repeal, when we signed, before the repeal, before the criminal libel was repealed, SLAJ would always be at the CID, almost every week. Almost every week you'll be at the CID to get the release of to bail a journalist for their publications, or those sort of things. And so, but we saw that one has drastically reduced. There is, I don't think we've been to the police again for some time now, apart from the incident with Philip Neville and the Standard Times regarding the abstraction of electricity allegation. We are 11 journalists. We are brought to the CID, to the CID, and we have to go there to bail them and the sort of things. Yes, but
that was a recent case as well, from Bo.
From Bo, yes. Joe, yes. Joe was also transported from Bo to here for what he broadcast on his radio. So those are isolated incidences. They will happen. Like I said, when we had the repeal, things will not change overnight. It's not possible. Definitely, this is a culture that has been there for decades. And so, but there's a genuine effort now to ensure that we confront these challenges and ensure that there is a change of mindset, especially on the part of the police.
The picture of a businessman or even a politician calling a policeman to arrest a journalist because of what they wrote or what they broadcast. I mean, it's just like when we had the criminal libel law. If the criminal libel law is out, why do you do that? I mean,
for that case, yes, for that one was the incident with the journalists in Bo.
In Bo,
yes, we took that up with the police very strongly. We wrote them very strong worded letter and asked them in the spirit of the repeal, they should not. They're not supposed to do that. Anytime they have a case regarding publications of journalists, they have to refer it to the IMC. Yes, or they advise people to go to court. That's the option. So we made that clear to them, and they accepted. And well, the head of the case, the person that was in charge of the case, told me in confidence that it was just he knew the journalist. He was his friend because he was also in Bo. He had station in Bo. He was working in Bo as a police officer, and so he knew the journalist. And he wanted just to come and advise him and tell him some things that he should be careful about the way he goes about his work, so that he doesn't get involved with some people. He said some people will not complain. Some people, when you attack them on air, they don't complain. They just go and do what they want to do, and then you see the end result. That's what is happening. But we made it clear that that was wrong, You should never do that. You should have call him as a friend and invite him to come, not just not go and arrest him
and bring
him here. And so that was the problem. We made that point clear. And I think when we like we said, it's an age-old problem, and but we are making genuine effort to resolve it, because we have to dialogue. If we don't dialogue, then we cannot solve these problems. We have to engage with leadership, sit on the table and talk to them. And so what we have done, interestingly, the police are now committed to ensure that we do 2 trainings. And it's only because now we're having the AGM, and so we'll push that to after the AGM. But definitely, those trainings will come up before the elections, and that will be a platform for us. What we'll do now, we'll task ourselves. The police will go now and talk to the members and document all the issues that they're having with media people, with journalists, whenever for elections, for presidential functions, public functions, and then we'll also go and document all the issues we're having with the police during those programs. And then we'll go to the training, and then we'll develop manuals that we'll have for the police and one for media people, that will guide us when we meet. This is how we should support one another. This is what we should do. This is what we should not do. That will be a process. And then they will train their operational commanders to understand the role of the media. They will also train us to understand about security, what is the essence, the role that they are playing. And so we understand the roles we are playing, the responsibilities we have, and then we support one another to perform them professionally. And I think that going forward, we definitely will see changes. Yes, we'll see changes. Yes, but it's good that we've started the engagement, and now we are talking on face to face to see and make some commitment that will address these problems. Yeah.
Okay, that's a fitting point to end this discussion. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Yeah.